All right, brand versus bland. Chapter, I don't know what number, in A Tale of Two Realtors. You got brand versus bland. Big brand energy. We got unicorn versus uniform. Never be content with your content. Savage versus average. Walk softly but carry a big brand. Unforgettable versus regrettable. Are you still in real estate? The worst question a client, customer can ask a business owner or a realtor is if they're still in real estate, if they're still in plumbing. Foundation versus foundation. Basements aren't sexy, but they're important. All right, so brand versus bland. Big brand energy. Unicorn versus uniform. Never be content with your content. Always be pushing an envelope. Obviously, some people just don't really care about what they're putting out there. So you should be recognizable and franchisable. So recognizable and franchisable. I see so many realtors, I see so many business owners, I see so many like trucks running around with you can barely make out their logo, you can barely make out their name, or it's like Steve and my three sons, which is cool, awesome. I love my dogs, but it's not little bro, it's not homie little bro real estate group. Purple cow versus what now? Be the purple cow. There's a book, Purple Cow. Be the purple cow. In a field of white and brown cows, you're gonna wanna stand out. You wanna be the purple cow. Not walking around wondering, why now? Why no one's calling me? Why am I not getting traction? Why do I have to tell everybody I'm in real estate? It's you versus the rest. You versus the rest. You versus the crowd. You versus the pack. You want to stand out, not blend in. Unicorns stand out. Uniforms blend in. Savage versus average. Walk softly but carry a big brand. You want to walk softly but carry a big brand. That way you can saturate and dominate your market. You can dominate your domain, you know? Loud and proud versus low and slow. A big brand speaks for itself. A big brand speaks for itself. You see it once, you know it, you can't forget it. And the tougher the market, the more important it is to have a beast of a brand. If you got 400 realtors or 4,000 realtors or 9,000 realtors in your MLS, you're gonna wanna stand out from that crowd. You're gonna wanna be the purple cow. You're gonna wanna be recognizable. And if you plan on selling it, you wanna be franchisable. So it's so important to have a beast of a brand so that you stand out like a purple cow. A good example of that is FedEx. I call it the FedEx effect. The FedEx effect. I'd seen those trucks around for years. Obviously, I could see them in my head right now, and I have to think about it. But the first time I noticed that there was an arrow between the E and the X, it like blew my brain apart. It blew my brain apart. I was like, wow. And ever since I saw that arrow between the E and the X, I can't unsee it. And it makes me think of them moving forward. FedEx, they're moving forward, they're delivering packages. Once you see it, you can't unsee it with the FedEx effect. And that's what everybody who's growing a brand should want to do. And that's what we do at Mr. Zip Code is we hand you a brand, if approved, and you have instant brand, an instant brand, which you want to be unforgettable versus regrettable. Are you still in real estate? Are you still in plumbing? No one really says, are you still a doctor? But every other career, every other industry seems to get the are you still sometimes when you have a regrettable brand rather than an unforgettable brand. They should see it and know it. When they see your brand, they should know exactly what you do. They should just get it, you know? You want to have the unfair advantage. The unfair advantage, which means you get to skip the line and collapse time. With a good brand, you could literally save yourself years of work, years of, hey, please call me, I do this. Hey, please call me, I do that, you know? It's the it factor versus the shit factor. The it factor versus the shit factor. You either have an it brand or a shit brand. You know, when I was going by Charlie O, I had to say I was Charlie O, Charles O'Rourke. Charlie O, Charles O'Rourke, probably 100 times for someone to remember it compared to, yeah, Mr. Middletown, hyperlocal real estate agent, the best realtor in town. I'm Charlie O. Charlie O sells homes. Charlie O sells homes. Charlie O sells New Jersey. Charlie O is Monmouth County real estate. Mr. Middletown, hyperlocal real estate expert. Always be branding. I could care less if people know I'm Charles O'Rourke now, but I do care that everyone in Middletown, when they think of real estate, they think of Mr. Middletown. When they think of selling their house, they think Mr. Middletown. Even if I'm not listing it, I want them to think I'm coming to show it. Real estate, Middletown, Mr. Middletown. I love when I'm dealing with a friend that's a secure realtor and they tell me funny stories. Like my one friend, she told me a few times whenever when I show her houses, some of her clients have said, Mr. Middletown showed the house today. Like, I don't know who they are, but they know who I am because of my brand. So now I'm showing their house, not my listing, but my clients now have an unfair advantage with me that if they want that house, I'm now able to represent them with people who are familiar with me and my brand already. So they're most likely going to prefer I get the contract, we get the deal. So foundation versus foundation. Basements aren't sexy, but they're important. Basements aren't sexy, but they're important. Almost any real estate deal I've ever had that fell apart, which isn't a lot, thank God, have fallen apart because some issue with the foundation. And any business that has fallen apart or not made it was probably because it had an issue with its foundation. And perhaps the business owner was fond of naming it after themselves and their kids, or some word they really like, right? They were fond of it rather than having a foundation. So foundations are strong and solid. Foundations are ideal, or people like the idea of it. I like the idea of naming my company after me and my kids' names or my initials. Yeah, but who cares? That doesn't mean anything to anybody else. It's not recognizable. It's not franchisable. You know? Foundations are marathons versus sprints. It takes time to build a solid foundation, you know? But with a solid brand, you can build your foundation a lot quicker. The bigger the building, the bigger the brand, the bigger the foundation needs to be. So I have a weird experience from the day I was getting my lockbox for the Monmouth County Real Estate Association of Realtors. It was 9/11. I was actually getting my lockbox on 9/11. That's where I was when when everyone's phones started ringing. They weren't texting, they were ringing back then. Which was a horrible day. Horrible day. Weird way to start your career is on that note. But it gave me a weird perspective on foundations. So while I was building my business, real estate, Mr. Middletown, eventually Mr. Zip Code, I got to watch and see like nothing going on for years, even after they got the approvals. There was nothing going on for years that you could see because they were building the foundation. They were building the foundation, which is typically 2 or 3 times wide as the building. Especially the bigger the building, the bigger foundation. The bigger the tree, the bigger the root system, the bigger the foundation. Then the story started going up. And it looks like it happens overnight. Boom, 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 boom. Then the finishing work. Then the sign goes on. And people call that an overnight success. That's just as a joke. It's one of my least favorite sayings. Yingling's a hilarious saying. 100 and something year overnight success. Because this foundation needs to support this. But once the foundation's in, it can go pretty quick. Mr. Middletown, I realized that by watching this building go up. I remember Googling what the foundation looks like. And if you ever want to see, if you ever look at a building and think, wow, that's beautiful, that's tall, Google what its foundation looks like, and it'll blow your mind. But because of all the work of going from Mr. Middletown to Charlie O, back to Mr. Middletown, then to Mr. Zip Code, all the fights I had with Motown Records over M-Town Clothing, I knew that I had to build a really solid foundation for Mr. Zip Code if I wanted to build a massive building and a massive brand above it. So I made sure I did my due diligence, made sure we trademarked everything, and we had it, we owned it, it was done right. And now Mr. Zip Code is built, Mr. Middletown and Mr. Zip Code is built on a solid, sick foundation. So the part of it is too, once you're building your foundation and you've got your brand, you want to make sure you get a good ROI on your ROB, your return on your brand. So you want to make sure you have IP, IQ. You own your shit. Own your shit. Mr. Zip Code, you're able to own your territory. You're able to own your zip code. Then you have the ability to scale and sell it. Exit versus retire, or exit versus leave. Most people can't sell their real estate business unless you own a building and you're the broker and you own the franchise. Most single agents, non-brokers, can really barely sell their business. That whole point of building a brand on top of a solid foundation is so that everybody that's our member can eventually scale and sell their business and exit rather than retire. Would you build your dream house on a lot you didn't own? No, nobody would, So what's the point of doing well with a brand you can't sell? What's the point of doing well with a brand you can't sell? That's just year to year. Y to Y, D to day to day, Y to Y, year to year. Okay, and then what? How do you leave? How do you scale? How do you exit? But with a big brand comes big bullshit. So our branding system is not for everybody. Luckily, I had what I call a fat kid privilege, which was the ability to see human beings for what they are and know that human beings aren't always the greatest person. They may say things about you, they're going to talk about you. Well, especially if you're trying to build a big brand, people are going to talk stuff about you. I've had people post things on my Facebook group and, say stuff. I've heard stuff. You got to have big brand energy so it doesn't get to you. My father used to say, you just have this look on your face that you don't give a shit. You don't give a fuck. And I attribute a lot of that to fat kid privilege, thank God for it. So that's why I know not everybody is right for our branding system, but we only need one person and want one person per zip code that's got the balls, our big branding balls, that'll live by big brand energy and drink a little fuck you fuel every day so that they can embrace that lighthouse DNA and run and grow their brand rather than roll out their bland. So brand versus bland, I think it's obvious which is the right way to go with it. Thanks.